Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I'm really excited about this topic, and I am so privileged to be joined by two amazing guests that I can't wait to introduce you to in just a second. The title of today's webinar is How This Advisor Went from Solo to Superstar. She really is a superstar, although she'll tell you that she isn't, but trust me, she is. Today's webinar, it's really all about one thing: growing your business through growing your team. And it's going to be talking to you and showing you the connection between how, as you expand your team and you enhance your team, your business will grow and benefit as a result. I know that when most people, when they think about growing their business, they want to hear topics like, how to get more prospects via social media, or they want to hear the latest killer seminar idea. And those topics are important, but in a lot of ways, they're putting the cart before the horse. When you want to move your business forward, what helps you get more done to bring in more assets is having a team that you can truly leverage, a team of highly skilled, highly motivated people who in turn can leverage each other. And that's what you're going to learn here today. To give you an example of why it's so important, there's an analogy that Bill has talked about before that I've always really loved. One of the things, if you ever looked up in the sky and you've seen geese flying in the air, you've seen how they fly in a V formation. There's a reason for that. Scientists have found that as each bird flies in that V formation, they actually create an uplift for the bird following right behind them. And by flying in that V formation, scientists have found that a flock of geese or any kind of bird really can add at least 71% more distance than if each bird were to fly on its own. And that's what today's webinar is really all about. You're going to hear from two advisors who have built a team where every member's role, every daily activity, the entire team mindset is about creating an uplift for the person behind them and the person next to them. And you're going to learn how to better structure and shape your team so that it flies like that V formation, so that you and your business can go even further. So with that said, let's dive into this. I want to just very briefly introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Matthew Bailey. I am the head writer and director of client content for Bill Good Marketing. But it's not me you come to see and hear. It's these two amazing guests. As I mentioned, I'm so honored to welcome to this webinar today Barbara Hudock and Michael Hudock, who are longtime clients of Bill Good Marketing and absolute legends of the industry. So Barbara and Michael, please introduce yourselves to us. Tell us a bit about yourselves, where you're based, what kind of practice you run. So those on the webinar who don't know you can get just a little bit of a taste of who you are.
So we're based in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, a small town in central Pennsylvania. We work with clients who have at least $1 million in assets, in investable assets. We have a lot of retired doctors, entrepreneurs, business people, but we also have teachers who just have been real smart with their money, and other professions as well. We have about 670 clients. Our high assets under management was $775 million, which was in late 2021. I'm sure others can relate here. We're currently just over $700 million. Our annual revenues are now between $6 million and $7 million.
And I'm Michael Hudock Jr., and I am in the wonderfully unique position to be a longtime observer of what my mom has been able to create, and I am able to help facilitate her long-term mission of creating a service model and a firm that's really geared towards facilitating a high net worth, high value proposition experience for clients that really want to experience a high service, high touch model. And my mom has created this almost intuitively, simply by focusing on the client experience and creating an exceptional client experience at every opportunity. So I feel very blessed that I get to play second fiddle to such an amazing pioneer in the industry.
Yeah, that's well said. And really, Barbara, you are a pioneer in so many ways. I mean, so much of what we teach and coach here at Bill Good Marketing is really based off of things that you have created or discovered over the years and shared with us. So we're thrilled that you're with us today. And Michael, I know this is your very first webinar with Bill Good Marketing. So it's awesome that you're joining us. And I hope you'll join us for many more in the future.
Thank you.
Now, on this call today, we have a lot of existing clients and a lot of clients who have been with us for quite a long time. But we have a number of advisors I see who are not yet clients of ours. So if you're not quite familiar with what Bill Good Marketing does, or this is your first webinar with us, just a brief overview of our company. What we do is our job is to help financial advisors double their business or work half as much. And we do that by helping advisors create customized strategy plans for themselves so they can figure out exactly what they need to do, what best practices they need to operate and adopt in order to get to where they want to be growth-wise. We provide multiple training options for you and your team, whether it's bringing on new team members or helping develop your team members to be even more accomplished at their roles. We provide numerous marketing campaigns and marketing content for advisors to be able to get in front of new people and grow their business. And of course, we provide ongoing coaching and a CRM system to help you manage your business and accomplish your business goals. So that's a bit about us. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, we'd be happy to answer your questions and work with you in the future. So thank you for joining us today. And as we always do, the last little bit of housekeeping, we have a goodie bag for those of you who are on the call, just as a way of saying thank you for taking a bit of your valuable time and sharing with us today. So in our goodie bag, we have a copy of Barbara and Michael's team agenda or team meeting agenda, which they're going to cover a bit more today. And then a very special document that details some of the roles and responsibilities on their team. These are two awesome documents that they've shared with us that advisors can get a lot out of. And then finally, we have a copy of a special guide that Bill himself created not too long ago called Surefire Team Development. And this is an excellent resource for advisors who are looking to start building out their team in a manner similar to what Barbara has done over the years. So you can get all those documents and we'll show you how at the end of this webinar. Okay, let's dive into the topic proper. As I mentioned, we're here to talk about team building. And Barbara, you've created such an amazing team over the years, but you didn't always have such an amazing team. You started out as a solo advisor. So to begin with, I'd like to turn back the clock a bit. And Barbara, I'd love if you could share with us a bit about your journey over the last 30 years from solo to someone who manages a $700 million practice and an amazing team. So walk us through how your career has progressed and how your team has grown.
Thank you, Matt. I will. So I actually started in the industry in 1975. Now I was about 4.5 years old. So I was quite young, but I started out as a manager secretary at a large brokerage firm. I did that, and I don't want to start from that point because it's really about 1990 that my business started exploding. And I have some numbers here I want to share with you in a few minutes. But in the early 90s, I did 3 things. I started on the Bill Good system, which was a huge commitment for me. I actually took out a mortgage on my home in order to pay for the Bill Good system, the computer operator. But I've got to say it was one of the best investments I ever made. And at the same time, the same year, I did a Tony Robbins week-long event, and which was amazing and gave me more leverage. And I think leverage is a key word today in this presentation. And I also did a program called the Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan. And I don't know if anybody's heard of him or done that program, but it's pretty phenomenal. He doesn't really teach that much anymore, but he has people out there who are. And the 3 of those things for me came together in such a way that it provided confidence, it provided leverage. But what the Bill Good system did was it provided the tools that I needed to actually implement what I was learning with the other programs. With the Strategic Coach, one of the things that I learned was about your unique ability. Everybody has a unique ability, and that your job, my job, everyone's job in this business, if you're running a practice, is to find out what your unique ability is and delegate everything else. In 1990, I was producing $337,706 was my 1990 production. And my goal, although I couldn't even say the M word, million, but my goal secretly was to produce $1 million, as well as to create the culture of what's on the screen, that when clients, potential clients, employees, community members walk through our doors, they are magically transported to a world that's kinder, gentler, warmer, friendlier, and where their dreams come true. That became a passion for me, to be able to grow our business our way, not in the traditional sense. So in 1991, I'm sure most of you haven't been in the business that long, but in 1991, my production dropped from 337,000 to 289,000, because at that time I started going from a transaction-oriented business to a fee-based business, using money managers, using any means of making it fee-based as opposed to transaction-based. In 1993, I jumped up 33% to 384,000. And in 1990, that was 1992. In 1993, I jumped to 700,000 in production, 701,000 in production, up 82%. And when I looked at, when I was preparing for this, and I was looking at the numbers, the difference, what happened that year was I started doing financial planning. I had always done some form of financial planning, but I made it a rule that when clients came into my practice, it wasn't a practice then, it was me, but when clients came with me, that I would do a financial plan. And by doing a financial plan, you're sitting on the same side of the table as the client. You're talking to them about their goals and their needs and their wants, and where are they now, where do they want to go. And naturally, business came out of that. And so my business started to accelerate, so that by 2001, when I left my major brokerage firm, I was close to 2 million in production. And of course, you know that now it's more like between 6 and 7 million. So how did that jump happen? So one of the things that I did was I found that my unique ability is basically working with clients one-on-one. This is not my unique ability here today, but I love working with clients one-on-one. I love finding out what their dreams are, what their goals are, and how can we make that happen for you. So what I needed to do was put that at the center and delegate everything else. So, okay, I had already hired a computer operator. I had a computer operator in 1990, because that required as part of the Bill Good system. I started paying. I was in 1990. I had a 1/5 of a sales assistant, an administrative assistant, which wasn't very much, and I was pretty difficult to work for, because I actually wanted my work to get done, and sometimes it didn't get done. So I was having a hard time finding an actual administrative assistant. I realized that the only way I was going to get the kind of service assistant that I needed was to pay for them, even though I was with a major brokerage firm who paid for a portion of an administrative assistant for me. So I did that. I had hired a computer operator, an administrative assistant, had an intern. One of the administrative assistants that I ended up hiring, this was fast forward to 1997. But in 1997, I hired an administrative assistant who had applied to the firm to be a financial advisor, an account executive, they were called at that time. And the manager did not believe he could make it as a financial advisor, but he thought he'd make a great assistant. Well, he was right. And so I hired him as an administrative assistant by 2001 when I left Merrill. I'm sorry, left the major brokerage firm. There were 5 of us. There was my computer operator, my administrative assistant, a lieutenant type of a person, kind of junior, and then a senior junior partner. What? Lead advisor, right? And that allowed us, once we started our own practice and started to grow from there, the sky was the limit. It grew. Of course, the market helped a lot or hurt a lot, depending upon what year it was. But that was really the core. And ever since then, like Matt said, the whole purpose when hiring someone else is to leverage your genius, leverage your unique ability so that you can do what you love to do and what you do best and what you get paid for. And then you delegate all of the other roles in your office so that they're taken care of. The service, the receptionist, every other role can be delegated, and finding people who are good at that and who have that as their unique ability. Is this making sense, Matt?
I love that approach, Barbara. Leveraging you thinking of building your team to leverage what you're good at and what makes you unique. I think a lot of advisors, when they're building their team, they think in terms of, well, there's a laundry list of stuff that has to get done, and I don't have time to do it all, so I got to find someone to do it. But what you're talking about, it's not about just checking off items on a list. You are building a team in a way to help make sure that you get more of what, help do more of what you're good at, and the next person gets to do more of what they're good at, and so on. And as a result, everyone is at their utmost productivity, and everyone is doing the thing that they actually enjoy and makes them get out of bed in the morning. That's such a powerful way to think of team building. That's not the norm in this industry. So I absolutely love that.
So as an example, and I know Matt is a very fast typist, actually faster than me, but I'm a fast typist. I type over 100 words a minute, and I'm probably the fastest typist in our office. But just because I'm proficient at typing doesn't mean that that's what I should be doing with my day. I need to do what brings me joy and what makes the most productivity for our practice, for our team. Anything to add?
No, I think within the team structure, what we have created is kind of a starting point for everyone to come in, because often you really understand the ins and outs of each role as you perform each of those roles. So if we hire someone as what we would call a lieutenant, a lieutenant has a lot of different paths that they can take. They can just be service and really enjoy the service side and not get into the investment side, or they can do service as well as investments with a desired path of becoming what would eventually be a lead advisor. And one of the great benefits of having that offered path is a couple of really good strengths. One, they get to have a little bit of control over their destiny. So there's a principle that you don't want to promote people to their level of incompetence. And if somebody's a really good typist, then you make them the top typist when they have many other strengths that they should be focusing on. And so what we've done is created this system in which if they're just want to be a wonderful service assistant, then that's where they'll get to focus their attention and efforts. But if they want to continue down the path, then as they go down the path to become maybe a lead advisor, they're going to have a much deeper understanding of what it takes to be a really good service assistant as they've checked those boxes and continued down that career path. And I think that's a really efficient way to do it, so that everyone has an understanding of what it's like to sit on different seats in the team. There's a higher level of respect, a higher level of dedication because we know what it takes to succeed in current roles as well as to advance.
At least 5 of the current team members started out as my assistant. And that, I'd like for them to stay at least 5 years in that role, because as everyone knows, it takes a couple of years just to get in the groove with a position like that. But what it allows is they get a big picture. They get the picture of what's going on in the firm, so that as they transition into a different role, a lieutenant. A lieutenant is a great role, which is kind of a junior advisor who sits in on the meetings. They generally start out by sitting in on the meetings and taking notes. So then they're leveraging the senior advisor on that team, so that the senior advisor can concentrate on talking to the client, working with the client, making recommendations, doing the financial planning. Eventually, the lieutenant starts to get good at it by being in those meetings and starts to veer off with their own practice, with their own clients.
And the current structure is that we're up to eight lead advisors. Of those 8 lead advisors, 3 have additional roles that they'll also perform, and the other 5 are either on the verge of only being a lead advisor, or are solely committed to being a lead advisor within their portion of the team.
So this is absolutely fascinating. And I want to dive into your team structure and these different roles that you have in greater detail. But we have a number of questions coming in already that I want to make sure, Barbara, you have a chance to answer. So the first question comes from David, who asks, Barbara, could you explain how you did financial planning in 1993, as I don't believe software was available then?
1990, I did 74 financial foundations, Merrill Lynch, which is where I was working at the time, had a program called Financial Foundations. And we would fill out the program. The client paid, I think, $175, which was a lot of money at the time. The client would pay $175, and we would send it to Princeton, where they had a team of financial planners and certified financial planners, and they would send back a book. It started out with a bound book. I should have brought one of my original ones. It started out with a bound book, and then they turned it into a notebook. So you could have a notebook that you could add and subtract from. But Merrill Lynch did have the Financial Foundation software in 1993. They even had, now it wasn't 1993, it was probably 2000, they had what they called the Interactive Financial Foundation, which was a software program where we would throw it up on the screen. I would meet with the client, throw it up on the screen, and if they wanted to make a change, okay, I need $10,000 a year for my vacation instead of $5,000 a year, or I want to buy a vacation, a beach house for $500,000. You can, while the client is sitting there watching, you can make those changes into the program, and they can see exactly what that happens, what that does. Now, the weaknesses of the financial programs, that Financial Foundation program at the time, was that it only used a straight line analysis. It was several years later, I'm not sure how many years later, that they started the Monte Carlo analysis. So that was a big change, but it was still really, I had a system. I actually used Bill. We had a series of 3 letters that went out. So I would send a letter out to all of my clients, and it would say, I didn't do them all at one time. I would do a group, and the letter would say, Barbara wants to schedule a telephone appointment with you to talk about something that's very important. And so that letter would go out, and then the sales assistant, administrative assistant would call the client, schedule the appointment. Now the client has been prepared for this, and then the next call would be, okay, this is the opportunity we have to do a financial plan. And you're right, I don't think that it was done a lot, But it was my strength, because my strength is not picking stocks. It still isn't. We have people on the team who do that very well, with Michael being one of them, but that was not my strength. But doing the financial planning and the delegating the investments, either money managers or funds, worked perfectly for me.
Awesome.
Did I answer
So
that?
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just said, did I answer that question for Dave?
I'm sure he did. Yeah. And if he has any follow-ups, he can definitely ask in the chat.
Okay.
We have a number of other questions coming in though. Randy asks a multi-part question. He asks, how do you manage the money? Do you do it yourself or have outside separately managed accounts do it for you? And what do you do with clients that are under 1 million?
So the way we manage money is we have an investment committee. There are 8 people on the investment committee. Every person who's on the investment committee is client facing. So they're going to have to answer to whatever the decisions are we're making in that committee. We do not use, for the most part, we do not use outside money managers. We use ETFs, we use funds, we use sometimes individual stocks, mostly ETFs and funds. ETFs. And the second part of that question was,
What do you do with clients that are under 1 million in assets?
unless there's a really good reason, we don't take them. We specify, if you look at our newsletter, right on the newsletter, we have a newsletter for clients and we have a newsletter for potential clients. And on the newsletter for potential clients, we basically say that because of the level of service we provide, we have to have a minimum in investment. And so if it's less than that, we are sorry, but we just can't take them.
What we will do is facilitate family relationships. And so as children or other family members of our high net worth clients want to have conversations with us, we're happy to facilitate those. And we'll come up with different solutions. We have created some what we call abridged models that have fewer positions and are able to target some smaller amounts. But we really try to incorporate those smaller relationships into a larger household, at least in the way that we service it, because we really do put a lot of time and effort into a very high touch, high level communication style service model.
And Kim actually asked what you do about your clients' kids, and I think you just answered that. Eric asks, how many people on your team are considered lead advisors, and how do lead advisors as part of your firm, how do you make so they don't branch off with their own clients, start their own book of business?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. And the way we structure the team, how about the
diamond?
yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you?
Yeah, sure. So the structure, yeah, that's great. And so what we do is it's important that each lead advisor feels properly compensated for the roles in which they serve. And that starts at a base level salary, and then we do a specific amount of comp that will go towards their compensation based off of the amount of assets that are in their number, their allocation as a lead advisor. But then in addition to that, we want everyone to be motivated to increase our overall revenue. And so we'll do specific bonuses. For example, when we wanted to go from 4 million in revenue to 5 million in revenue, we did a one-time bonus in addition to everything else that we do. That would be $5,000 to each team member, or 10% of their income, their annual income, whichever is greater. Then we went to 6 million. We did the same bonus. Then next, our plan is to go to 7 million. And it's this wonderful carrot in which everyone is aligned and feels motivated, not in a selfish way. They don't look at the pie as everyone only gets a certain piece. What we all want to do is create an environment where we're all willing to commit to grow the pie. where we're all feeling nicely compensated for the value that we bring to the table. And it's been pretty awesome. And in addition to that, in 2019, we took the form of a ESOP, employee stock ownership plan. And that's been awesome. There's no deposits or financial commitment that our team members need to make, but yet we have a 3-year vesting period and a really nice carrot at the end of that, at the end of their journey, that will allow for a nice retirement compensation plan.
So the other thing to that question, we may have 7 or 8 senior advisors, but you can be a senior advisor and a lieutenant. So let's say we have one person who is a lieutenant for one of my priority clients, one of my top clients, but they're also a senior advisor on a book of, $70 million. So they gradually grow into eventually being a senior advisor, period. And then somebody else becomes a lieutenant. So it's a dynamic process that the roles that you're not just one position. As to how we keep people from leaving and starting their own practice, we just had somebody in our team meeting on Tuesday. We have a team meeting every Tuesday morning in this room, sit around this table, and one of the lieutenant's senior advisors, lieutenant advisors, sat there and said, what I love about what we do is that we're a team. We work together. We're not in competition with each other. If we're with another firm and I happen to take care of one of your clients, you might try to take him away from me, him or her away from me. And I think we've built a family type environment that motivates people to work together and continue to grow and to grow the firm, as Michael said, rather than just to get more clients.
And so it's an important point, because the compensation structures that we have in place are both based off of individual goal achievement as well as firm-wide goal achievement. And when you create those synergies, everybody's uplifted. So when a potential client calls in that was referred by a client that a lead advisor is working with, we have that lead advisor has a conversation with that client. And we're really looking to create synergies with the clients in which we serve. So one of a common sport in the area here is fly fishing. And that's a high net worth sport. It's in a lot of different ways. And so if a client or it refers someone to a non-fly fisherman, non-hunter, non-outdoorsman, and that person has the conversation and they understand that this would be a great match for another advisor, 100% of the time, we're looking for that match. And so although that lead advisor is deferring this client out of their lead advisor number, it's going to someone in which is going to be able to cultivate and be a better fit for that relationship. And we've just always structured it that way. So there's no and, ifs, or buts about it. It's just the way that it takes place. And I'm really proud at the way the team has developed and committed to an understanding that when the firm grows assets and revenues, the full team participates and benefits from that. Even if it's not achieving their individual goal, they put a similar weighting on our firm goals. And I think that's really important.
Absolutely. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper into all these different roles that you have. And so I was hoping what you could do, Barbara and Michael, is if you could go through each of these, or even just pick a few key ones and explain, to those advisors on the call who maybe don't have these roles currently, what do they do? What's their purpose? And how do they help you guys accomplish this mission, both secret and stated, that you guys have with your clients?
So the CEO, I see my role more as visionary and culture creating, culture maintaining. But I'm also kind of like, if it needs to be done and there's no one to do it, then I sometimes get that job too. Michael is the president, and serves a valuable function in not only training, helping the younger advisors in the office, mentoring them and creating checklists. And he runs our team meetings on Tuesdays. He heads up the investment committee. Which is what I think is important is a lot of roles are not just one. So a relationship manager can also be a lieutenant. The information technology specialist, that's him, and there's only one of him, and that pretty much takes all of his time to make sure we all have functioning computers up to date and all of that. The receptionist. Now, we had a receptionist, I have to say, for 45 years. And when she retired, she never retired. She passed away when she was 90 years old. And she was our coordinator of first and lasting impressions. She started out as being the receptionist, but she never wanted everyone, for many years, everyone tried to push her to become an administrative assistant because they said, you can make more money. Well, I would rather pay her for being a phenomenal receptionist, better than probably anybody in the state, if not the country. And I'd rather pay her more to do that than to try to get her to do something that would make her unhappy and not give her joy, because she loved the job.
And what's really interesting about that role specifically is it is normally your first contact person. And the way that many corporations and many companies put value on that first interaction has been dismissed. And it's been dismissed with not even putting a live person on the phone, but your initial communication with that company is with the robot. And so what type of impression does a robot leave on your first interaction? So it's one of the most important roles within the firm, because we put a great high level of value on that first initial contact. And there have been multiple occurrences in which a new potential client is called in to have a wonderful experience within that first point of contact. And they keep coming back to that. They sign on with us. They love the experience. They love all the things that we do. But over and over and over again in each of those meetings, boy, that first point of contact, and they don't refer it to it in those exact words, but that's what they're describing, is that first point of contact was so exceptional, I almost couldn't turn away. You were different from the get-go. And putting value on that role, I think, is very powerful.
Yeah,
The lieutenant role is an assistant to a relationship manager. So their role is to prepare for appointments, sit in on the appointments, take notes during the appointments, follow up on the appointment, do everything except lead and interact with the client. There is some interaction with the client. Sometimes a second level interaction, they occur. Usually the lieutenant's goal is to become a lead advisor, if not some of the time in all of their relationships.
The operations manager goes hand in hand with the client service associate. And so we build different teams within that client service associate department, in which is run by the operations manager. And it's a constant ongoing communication about what's taking place on the service side in different ways that we can improve that process, often with just shared experiences and being a part of such a large team. We get a lot of different samples in different ways in which we can grow. And so when one client service associate has an opportunity to grow, a challenge, or a wonderful experience, they immediately share that with the rest of the team, and it's in real time. And so the client service associate, it's a division that's able to share that information, really raising the bar for each of those team members. And the bottom line is making sure that we are in the best position to create an exceptional client experience through every interaction. And that's the broad-based goal. We have a lot of different roles, but that's really what it comes down to, is each role focusing on creating that exceptional client experience. And it comes back to a high level stated goal, but each of these roles is really how we're able to work in a relay race where we can continue to deliver that value proposition.
Exactly. The communication specialist is the computer operator.
Feel good.
Runs the Feel Good system, runs all of our letters, all of our campaigns.
Executive associate and marketing associate. This is a evolution position that started as my mom's assistant and has just really been able to run with that role. They work very closely on the marketing side. We've started to incorporate a larger social media presence, and we're having a lot of fun with that and getting some themes outside of the business world, which is a lot of fun. Get to know our team, get to know who we are, not only as business professionals, but as family members, as community members. What are our philanthropic interests? Because a lot of times we get client alignment through these interests, and it's a low pressure technique we're looking to attract, not to hard sell. And that's been incredibly successful in attracting and making sure that we have somebody to lead that division.
Wonderful. I'm just, one of the things that you mentioned, Michael, that I think is just so impressive is how each of these roles ties back in, to that secret mission that Barbara mentioned at the beginning of creating that kinder, gentler world where people's dreams come true. Again, not just checking off items on a to-do list, but everyone contributing to that ethos that you have. I think that's so powerful and so effective at getting your entire team, working for each other, rather than just each one doing their own different thing. So that's really cool. Another thing I know you guys do, and I really want to make sure we have the chance to cover it, that I think also contributes is, Barbara has talked about how each of these roles is designed to leverage every person's unique ability. And so I'd love for you guys to talk about that. What are some of the things that you do to design each of these positions to leverage themselves and someone else? Can you walk us through some of the most important ways that you guys apply that concept of leverage?
Lieutenant.
Well, I was the lieutenant. Yeah, I was thinking about the profile. So we have everyone. Periodically, I'm going to say every 3 or 4 years, we'll do some kind. One year we did the disc profile. The one that we have up on, and I think that might be the next slide, Matt. We did this profile, which is different, and it's called the Working Genius Team Assessment. Is what this one is called. And I don't know if you can see it, but each one of the greens on the third page shows you who that is their strength. So it's divided into wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And you're not going to find, for the most part, people are going to be in 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of those groups. They're not going to be in all of them. And so as we do these disc profiles, we find out that some people are more geared towards being a compliance assistant. I mean, I would be the worst compliance assistant. I'd have us in jail. But some people are more outgoing, more interested in being part of the client relationship, and it helps us to then move them in that direction. So we have our CCO, our Chief Compliance Officer, is Wayne Diefendorfer. He started with me in 1998 as an intern from Lycoming College, which is a local college here. And once he finished part of his internship was he got licensed. And once he got licensed, I had him doing cold calling, I had him doing appointment prep. He was kind of a guinea pig for everything that I could throw at him, and he took it. So he has grown through the years. What's that, 25 years or something? He's grown through the years so that he's now our Chief Compliance Officer, because he's got I don't know if he loves details, but he's really good at details. So he's able to handle a lot of details in a situation, which is what compliance is. However, he is also a branch office manager, and he's also for any broker dealer clients, and he's also one of our senior wealth advisors. So he has several of the lieutenants who work under him, who are sitting in meetings with him, doing all the prep work, doing all the follow-up work. And so he gets to leverage his time by being in the meeting, but everything else is taken care of. And at the same time, these lieutenants are getting great experience in what it takes to be an advisor. And so in order to leverage his compliance hat, we hired another person who is a compliance associate, basically an assistant, a compliance assistant. And she does a lot of the behind the front line work with compliance, making sure that all of the dots are all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. And we just finished knock on wood, we just finished going through an audit. We're 99% of the way there. And in between Wayne and Beth, who is the compliance assistant, they did an amazing job. I wasn't brought into it at all. I spent, maybe 10 minutes a week hearing what was going on with the audit. And same with Michael. He didn't have to get involved in all of it was 8 months worth of audit.
And so I think the key is really focusing on 2 points of that leverage. One, making sure the roles are in a position for a trickle-down effect. And that trickle-down effect allows for leverage as well as experience, which are both very beneficial. But then in addition to that, the personality tests allow us to identify who's a really great starter and who really wants to dive into starting a different project or a mission or assignment, whatever it might be. And then they pass that off to a facilitator, somebody that's going to incorporate some of these different ideas and new concepts into the firm. And then they pass it on to the finisher who buttons it up, puts a shiny gloss on it, and then we're able to take it to market. And I think both of those 2 components and focusing on those together, personality strengths in line with the designing of each of the team roles, allows that leverage to be a natural part of the firm growth.
There's a book called Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham that we read. This was many years ago, and we went through there. The pages are yellow, actually 2004, September of 2004. And we went through this process at that time in order to determine what our strengths are. And they have a questionnaire in there. You go through it, you send it in, you pay for it, and they send you an analysis of who your team is, where the strengths are and where the weaknesses are, and who's doing what they should be doing and who may need to be moved into a different position.
I love this so much because we hear all the time from financial advisors who will hire someone for a role, and then they come and tell us, this person's just not working out. They can't seem to do the role, or I can't seem to find people to fit these roles that I have. And I think a lot of the times it's because they're not in the right role for them, or the way that role is structured isn't the right thing for their personality or their skill set or what have you. So, doing these kinds of exercises that you guys are doing, finding out the strengths and weaknesses and thinking in terms of leverage, like you were mentioning, Michael, I think is such a more effective and efficient way to build your team, because a lot of times advisors can get good people who aren't as productive or aren't as happy as they could be because it's not quite clear what they should actually be doing and where their skills and their personality are best applied. So this is really cool to me, and I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this.
And Matt, I think there's a fine balance between creating a structure for each of the roles, but providing enough flexibility within that structure that our team members know that they're able to go out and wow. we have 3 different committees that we've created inside the firm: constant and never-ending improvement committee, a team event committee, and a team education committee. The team education committee provided a lunch and learn just earlier this week.
Tuesday.
And the focal point was how we increase revenues and assets. And so the entire team comes together and we have this really cool brainstorm slash sharing opportunity where we talk about different ways that we bring in ideal clients and different things that are working. And it comes from every level, from service to lieutenants to lead advisors. And through those conversations, something that came up was that we focus on going the extra mile, but that statement in its own right doesn't get too specific, because what we want is for each team member, as they're engaged in client communications, they have a green light to wow. If you need to go above and beyond to wow an ideal client, do it. You don't need permission. That doesn't need to be defined in your role. Do it. Maybe we'll incorporate it into the role down the road. But we had this really cool conversation that everyone has permission to go wow. And that is an ongoing drumbeat that we maintain within the firm, is this momentum and rhythm of sharing different ways that we wow clients on an ongoing basis. And I think those examples improve our awareness of how those opportunities emerge and different ways that we're able to do it. Because contrary to belief, it's not the huge monumental things that wow clients. It's answering the phone when no one else is.
Within 3 rings.
Within 3 rings. It's being there within a quick response time, and knowing that that these amazing people that we are lucky enough to serve count on us to help them through whatever life brings. And that's a powerful, powerful value proposition.
It gave me chills when I walked into this room on Tuesday morning, and they had a huge slide up that said how to increase assets and revenues. I'm like, thank you. And then they went through, how are we doing it now? And how can we add to that? What else can we do? And they nailed it. It was so awesome. So this is the whole team sitting around, and they put together the lunch and learn. We gave them money. They knew they had the money to do it, and they put it together. And there are 3 or 4 team members on each one of those committees. But that's just a real recent development.
And what we've discovered over many, many years is that us just communicating at our team members is even close to as effective as creating engagement with all of our team members. And for years, we would have Tuesday morning meetings in which one person would just go over a couple of topic points, and then we'd call it a day. And these are early sessions, and there was little participation, if any. And that continued to be the case for years. And one day I woke up and I said, look, we need to create engagement, which really led to the team meeting agenda that I created, so that we can have a structured format that allows permission to engage. Because it's early in the morning, people still have sleep in their eyes. It's tough to get excited about business as we're talking about new things that we're going to incorporate into the business model. And so the agenda is really geared towards giving everyone updates on new business, new asset additions, new clients, new potential clients that we're meeting with, but also different social media posts, different communications that we're putting out there. Your most recent letter about getting on the other side of the debt crisis was awesome. And I loved sharing that we were able to put out a new letter that wasn't a crisis letter. It was the not crisis letter, which just felt so good to be in front of our clients and potential clients with this information. And that's been crucial to allowing everyone to feel like they have a voice and they participate in the ever increasing value of the firm and our ongoing value proposition to our clients.
So one of the things from the previous slide, I'll be real quick with this. One of the things that I found early on was that there was not engagement. I was running the meeting because I was the head of the team. I was running the meeting, and it's kind of like, and there she goes again, rolling eyes. And so what I did was we changed it up so that every member of the team has to take turns running the meeting. And what that does is it puts the money where the mouth is. It lets every person who is sitting in that chair feel what it feels like to be running the team meeting and know what it feels like when somebody's not paying attention or they're off on a tangent or something. So I think that's really important. And then the weekly meeting agenda, the top three things, the first item is something that we cycle through. So right now it's the top three things. It comes from our business plan. So in our business plan, we'll have the top things that make us better
For the clients we serve.
for the clients we serve. And so right now they name three. It goes up on the slide. We look at it, we read it, and then we go through. And I can't see the rest of it.
Yeah.
Here, partners update. So then that's where Michael or Michael actually, and then sometimes I like to edit. I don't generally start. We do the marketing update. We have a review marketing calendar for the week.
Nothing.
Types of working genius. Types of working genius is going to be the next, once we get past the three things that make us better for our clients, then we're going to start going through the 6 types of working genius and working through that. And so there's a whole a community appreciation. We throw up on the slide all of the nonprofits, local nonprofits that we have sponsored recently: the Community Arts Center, the Community Theater League, the Salvation Army, the Chamber of Commerce, or not the Chamber of Commerce, the American Rescue Workers, all different ones, so that everybody can see where we're making a difference, where we're making an impact in our day. We're getting close to the end. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are. And man, you guys are doing so many amazing things. And clearly an hour is not enough to cover all the cool things you're doing with your business.
Sorry, we get long-winded.
No,
You
not at all.
You should hear us in a room yelling at each other.
No, not at all. This has been such good information from you both. And I wish we could have more time. We're gonna have to bring you back for a part 2 of this webinar sometime in the future, because you have so many amazing things to share. So because we're running out of time, we have a number of other questions I haven't had a chance to get to that I want you guys to be able to address. So I want to very briefly just cover 2 things before I share those last few questions with you guys. First off, I want to just make sure everyone's aware of this. Barbara is going to be one of our speakers at this year's advisor conference, which is going to be in Austin in October. This is going to be a chance for you to ask way more questions and for her to go far more in depth into what she and her amazing team are doing to grow their business. So I would love for you all to join us there. It's our all-star lineup this year. In addition to Barbara, we have 9 other advisors who are absolute superstars on the Bill Good Marketing system. And for those of you who are on this webinar today, if you'd like to join us there, we're offering a very special discount. We only have a few seats left for this conference, and we're offering a special discount just for you on this webinar. So if you fill out our report card at the end and you're interested in attending, we have a special discount code you can see on the screen to get $100 off on your ticket. So please join us. We'd love for you to be there. I know Barbara would love to meet you and to answer your questions as well. So please consider that, and more information will be on the report card as far as our conference goes. And I did promise you that we would be giving you some resources, some team building resources for you to take home. So, and again, we're going to have a copy of Barbara and Michael's team meeting agenda. We have a document that lists all the roles and responsibilities that they have as part of their team. They've broken some of those down earlier on this call. And then we have Bill Good's Surefire Team Development Guide. You can get all these things. All you have to do is fill out our report card. Let us know what you got from this webinar, what you'd like to hear from us in the future. Just visit bgmtips.com/superstar. Again, that's bgmtips.com/superstar to fill out that report card. Takes 30 seconds and you'll get those goodies. Now, I know we're pretty much out of time, but I want to give some of these questions to Barbara and Michael to answer really quick. First of all, we have a question from David Shimana, and he asks, could you two actually talk a bit about how you're currently using the Bill Good Marketing system, what you're using it for.
We use it for letters, amazing letters. Matt writes the best letters I have ever seen. We use it for putting together events, events, educational events. We're doing a baseball game we have a local baseball team, and we're doing a baseball game. We have, how many people signed up? 75?
75.
75 people signed up so far for that. But the central part of that is the Bill Good system. We use it for marketing, for birthday letters, for mostly letters and events.
It's our outreach, our it's a central point of our ongoing communication system, and the value proposition that we've created is really around ongoing communication. So it is integral in the systems in which we've created to make sure that we're in front of those we serve with high value information, and it's a huge part of what we do.
I'm speaking at it's a life celebration for a client who passed away this week or last week, and he came to me, a successful businessman, an amazing philanthropist, and he came to me because he got one of our non-business related letters in the mail, and he was so impressed. And now this is our ideal client. This is the kind of people every single one of us want in our practice. And he came because we sent out a letter that it could have been Christmas, it could have been Thanksgiving. I don't know what the letter was, but it was 20 years ago. And we sent that letter out, and he's been a wonderful, amazing client ever since. But that was what got him in the door.
And the relationship rose to a level that was so powerful that his widow has now asked Barbara to speak at his celebration of life. And what an incredible honor that is. But that's the type of relationship that we pride ourselves in with each of the clients in which we're lucky enough to serve.
Often, at least once a week, we get a note or a letter or an email or a call saying, that was a great letter. We love those. We love that letter. Or Father's Day letter. We got a lot of calls about the Father's Day letter. I don't have to create it. I'm not that smart. I don't have to go out and write the letter and create it. We take that letter and maybe we'll make a tweak. We'll move it from an I to a we if Michael and I are sending it out jointly. But for the most part, the letters are meticulously done.
The Father's Day letter referenced an eagle, I believe, and we are working someone that has memory issues, but they remembered the name of the eagle. It was pretty spectacular. I love that, and that's the profound impact that these letters can have.
Thank you guys for saying that. That means so much to me. I really appreciate that. We have another question from Andrew, and he asks, can you speak to how your fees are structured? Are you fee only, fee and commission? If it is from commission, is it insurance? Basically, just how are you guys structuring your compensation?
Fee only. I mean, that's really it.
We have a very small, very, very small, maybe 5% of our business at a friendly broker dealer, and we have maintained that. We won't continue to maintain it, but we have maintained it simply to be able to take care of the clients who had the small legacy clients who.
And what we found is that fee only really allows us and those we serve to be on the same side of the balance sheet. We want to grow their assets, and they understand we will have a higher dollar amount from that growing of their assets. And so it's aligned us with a nice synergy with those that we serve. And that's how we frame our fee structure, is that we want to participate, and we want you to participate with our effective, efficient asset management.
Okay. David asks, so can you talk a bit more about what a lead advisor does, and how do you work with them directly as a lead advisor?
That's an awesome question. I have, the rest of the team have put me in a position where I get to, I go to the meetings I want to go to. I sit in on the appointments that I want to sit in on with people who I've been working with for 30, 40 years, and they become my friends, they become my family. But but I don't, I mean, I might, add something once in a while, but for the most part, the lead advisor does all of the interaction with the client. So all of we're going over we do an appointment agenda. And so we have a file that we give to the client. It starts with the appointment agenda. We then have the performance report. We have the financial plan. If they have IRA accounts, we have the IRA beneficiaries in once a year into the appointment file. We have 2 appointments per year with each client, and whatever else is in that appointment file, we have it bound in a document. And so the lieutenant prepares that document, but the lead advisor goes over all of that, goes over the performance, answers all the questions about performance, talks about our investment committee, what we're doing, why we're doing it, the changes that we made this past week or this past month or this past quarter, and how that has impacted your performance. Did I miss anything?
No, and Barbara's role for many years has been so engaged that we really work hard to allow her the freedom and flexibility within her role at this point in life and at this point in her career. And we all want her to make sure that she's not only enjoying the time in the office, but that she's able to go out and do the things that she loves. It's the ultimate leverage policy. And it's very important to us that she feels that, because although she minimizes a lot of the value proposition and benefits that she brings to the table, she is our big gun. And when we have a high profile, wonderful potential client that's coming in the door, I promise you, they're going to be meeting with Barbara in the room,
and I love it,
and that she thrives. I mean, it's like going to a Broadway show. Just sit back and enjoy it. It's something special, and that then is part of the experience that we're able to deliver for that new potential client.
I think we have time for 2 other quick questions.
Yeah.
Scott asks, what are you guys currently doing for prospecting? Or I know you don't use the word prospect, Barbara, you prefer to think of it as potential clients. So what are some of the things?
We think of it as attracting.
Okay.
And so what we're doing right now, we're the baseball game. Probably go ahead.
Well, so we created a really fun annual event calendar. And so in January of each year, we sit down with what we call our events committee, and we talk about on a monthly basis what events we want to do, some geared towards education, where we brought in a local attorney to talk very simply about estates and estate planning. Then we'll have a wine tasting. Then we had
chocolate and wine tasting. Cheese, chocolate and wine.
Then the next month we had a dance class where we have a client that is highly engaged with the dance studio, and they hold what are called Juliet events, just us ladies intelligently eating together. And it's women only. And what we found is that a women only environment creates a different level of engagement,
especially for older women.
And coming up in July, we have it's our annual baseball event, where we send each of our clients and potential clients an invitation to join us for a local minor league baseball game. And the tickets are maybe $25. And we have CEOs of health systems and CEOs of major local businesses that are clamoring to get on this waiting list to join us for this amazing event. And that's been incredibly effective. We have a great holiday event towards the end of the year. And so we try to attract. It's not a hard push sale. We focus on attraction. Rarely do we even talk about referrals within the clients that we serve, but we have some wonderful circles of influence that have been wowed by our service and value proposition over the years, that they just continue to send clients to us because they know what that experience is going to be. And that's really important to us.
After I left Merrill, about 93% of my clients at Merrill came over with me, but there were some big ones that didn't come with me. And one of them, however, we continued to drip on them. We continued to send them letters, send them invitations to our events. We have an amazing holiday event, Christmas party. And this one client didn't come over, but we sent him the invitation to the Christmas party. And they called and said, well, we're not clients. Can we come to the Christmas party? They came to the Christmas party and they transferred all their money from home. And that's not the only story like that. I think you don't want to give up on people. I'm still, there are still people out there, a couple who didn't transfer over, and I still drip on them. I still send them letters, and maybe they'll never come over, and that's okay. But I think it's good PR.
So process driven, what the key is to create a list of highly qualified potential clients that would recognize your name, that have an idea of what you do and may be interested in your services. And then you use that list of about 100 people to just continue to slowly drip on both feel-good events, different services that you perform, include them in your newsletter, treat them like a client. And for us, that's naturally led into some really nice ongoing growth rates.
So Scott, and for all of you who are still on this call with us, and I'm amazed at how many are still on this call. As you can see, Barbara and Michael, they're two of the great event marketers, if you want to think of it that way, in the industry. And if you want to learn more about how they're using events and their other strategies for attracting more potential clients and referrals, come to our advisor conference in October, because Barbara's going to be talking about that in quite a bit more depth and detail. So please join us for that. You're going to learn a lot from Barbara and from the other speakers.
I'd like to say one thing if I can, and that
Absolutely.
is, I am not a superstar, as Matt says. I would be nothing without my team members, every single one of them, who leverages me and lets me sit on the top of the pyramid and have my name up there. And that is such a great honor to be leading this team of people, because they're amazing.
And Matt, I have to follow that up with, as being the generation of observation, it's very easy for the pioneers that blaze the path and put forth the blood and sweat and tears towards creating something amazing, to look back at the golden brick road that we get to walk down behind her, and she gets to talk about how amazing it is to walk down this path together, when the reality is it is these pioneers that blaze this path. We are in the very beneficial luxury position of feeling all of the benefits and rewards from a lot of hard work that came before us.
Thank you.
That's well said. And on that note, Barbara, you are a superstar, and a big part of that is because you elevate the people around you, and you allow the people around you to elevate yourself. And that's what a superstar is, and that's who you are. And we're so privileged that you both have joined us today. So for those of you who have shared your time in hearing this and learning from these two amazing advisors, thank you so much for joining with us. Please take what you've learned here today, go out, apply it to your own teams, whether it's in terms of the roles that you need to grow, or whether it's in terms of leveraging the people you already have. Take this, apply it, and enjoy the fruits of your own labor in doing so, because it will make a huge difference in what you as an advisor and what your team can accomplish together to grow and to impact the people around you, the clients you serve, the communities you live in. So on that note, again, thank you so much for all of us here at Bill Good Marketing. We're so honored that you joined us today. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and your week. And we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar.
Thank everyone for hanging in there.